The new and hip trend of hiring former NFL football players to coach at the college level has continued, and most importantly, at the forefront, HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, they have been hiring coaches. Deion Sanders, Eddie George. Most recently, we've seen Michael Vick at Norfolk State, and now DeSean Jackson. That's right, D-Jack, former Eagle legend, is coming to the 302, Delaware State University, one of the best HBCUs in all the land, where I graduated from, to be the new head football coach. If you're just finding this channel for the first time, make sure you guys sack that subscribe button. Join us. What are you waiting for? Leave us a like. Hit that thumbs up button. When you do that, it lets YouTube know that you like our content and you want other people like yourself to find it. And you can comment down below. Let me know how your Christmas was. Let me know what you're doing for New Year's. Leave your favorite emoji. What is your thoughts on DeSean Jackson as a new head football coach at the Delaware State University? I'm going to break it all down for you and give you my perspective as someone who went to the university myself. Let's get to the story, everybody, because it was breaking news about 2 hours ago. And as of the viewing of this video about 3 hours ago, former Philadelphia Eagles star wide receiver DeSean Jackson and Delaware State University are finalizing an agreement for him to become the program's next head coach, sources told ESPN's Pete Thamel on Tuesday. Apparently, DeSean Jackson did an on-campus interview in recent days, and the sides are expected to come together to complete the deal in the near future. According to a source that has been a dream of Jackson's to coach at a historically black college or university, that dream could be a reality in the near future. I'm going to park right there if I can for 2 minutes. I am a alumni of the Delaware State University, graduated in 2015. If you don't know, majored in mass communications, did broadcast journalism, which kind of led me to what you see here today on YouTube. But Delaware State University football, it has been a laughingstock of MEAC sports. You look at the teams in the MEAC, you got your South Carolina States, you got your North Carolina Centrals, you got your Morgan States, you got your Norfolk States now with the new fancy coach in Michael Vick. Howard University, we know about HU, and now Delaware State. So really, it's only 6 teams now in MEAC football. So Delaware State, since I can remember, has been at or near the bottom. It's been either them or Howard more times than not Delaware State. They only have 2 wins in the last 2 seasons. 2-22. They just fired their coach, Lee Hall, which I'm going to get to in a second. But the namesake alone, having a guy like Michael Vick going to Norfolk State and another former Eagle, when they played together, a great tandem they were, not too far from the Philadelphia area. I mean, I say it all the time. Delaware is nothing but a smaller version of Philadelphia. They use the slang. They use the same slang. They dress the same. A lot of the way they go about doing things is very similar. So a lot of those guys from the Philly area or the Delaware area, it's very connected. So being a former Philadelphia Eagles player, being able to reach the students, the student athletes in the PA, the Philly area, the Delaware area, that alone is a great group of talent in those areas. I know Delaware is a smaller state. A lot of people may not know much about Delaware, but there are some good football teams in there. There is some talent. And of course, in the Philadelphia and surrounding counties of Pennsylvania, there are a lot of talented players that may not get the shot at the big D1 opportunity at school. But going to Delaware State University, an HBCU, playing in the MEAC, being able to have DeSean Jackson, maybe somebody you watched growing up, maybe as a receiver, somebody you idolized or wanted to be like, seeing what he did at the NFL level, how he could help propel you to potentially where you want to go in your career as a football player and life after football, how many connections, how many people he knows in the game that can help develop and bring in. I think it's going to be just as important as who DeSean Jackson hires on his staff. Because from what I see, he has no coaching experience, which does worry me. He has no experience. Now, the question is, they only gave Lee Hall 2 years, which I do want to get into in a second, but 38-year-old DeSean Jackson, very young, so he's able to translate and communicate with this millennial generation, with this Generation X, Generation Y, whatever generation we're in, that social media generation, the TikTok, the Instagram, the X, the Blue Sky, the YouTube. He's able to communicate with them. He's able to relate to them. He's able to get the most out of them and knows how to walk that fine line of coaching and also being a leader of men, because you have to coach. You have to coach, but you have to be very careful nowadays because you can't coach like you used to 10, 15 years ago. Guys aren't built the same. But he, being a guy who was not always easy to coach himself, who has matured, can bring that experience to the college level. I think more so what he does off the field and developing young men who he puts around on his staff is going to be just as important as what he does on the field. The former coach Lee Hall was dismissed earlier this month. I didn't even know that after two disappointing seasons, 1-11 this year, 1-11 last year. This news was first reported by Victory Formation Media. Jackson, who officially retired as a member of the Eagles after the 2023 season, made the Pro Bowl in 3 of 8 seasons, became the first player in NFL history to earn Pro Bowl honors at two positions, kick returner and wide receiver, played 15 years, stints with the Rams, Washington Commanders, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baltimore Ravens briefly, and Las Vegas Raiders, best known for the 6-year run with Philadelphia, in which he did play with Michael Vick in his pro career. 95 games with the Eagles, third all-time in receiving yards with 6,512, sixth in receptions, 379, ninth in receiving touchdowns, 35. Punt returner, he finished second in punt returns, 132, third in punt return yards, 1296, and tied for the team's all-time lead in punt return touchdowns with 4. So there you go. You see, and I'm going to bring up the standings so you guys can see kind of how Delaware State had did this past season. As mentioned, only 6 teams in the MEAC, but South Carolina State 5-0 in the conference, 9-3 overall. You got to be able to compete with those guys. They've been good for years. North Carolina Central 4-1, 8-3 overall. Morgan State, they were 3-2 and they were 500, 6-6 overall. So these 3 teams at the top, you're already working behind one hand behind your back because South Carolina State, North Carolina Central, and even Morgan State are going to more than likely get guys before Delaware State does. Hell, even Howard is going to get guys before Delaware State. If you got to choose between going to Howard or Delaware State for football, you're probably going to choose Howard. But now Delaware State has DeSean Jackson. And looking at Norfolk State, who was what, 4th? They were 2-3, 4-8. But you got to think with Michael Vick, they're going to win at least another 2 or 3 games just off of his namesake alone being a coach. And I know this is year 1 and he just got hired and it's going to take time. Because I think what these athletic directors and these presidents of these universities need to do, if they're going to pony up the money to bring in these guys, to bring in these namesakes, I'm sure they're getting millions with an S of dollars in the contract. I'm not sure how long the deal is because I think as a coach at this level, guys like Vic, guys like DeSean Jackson who really haven't had coaching experience coming into college football, coming into the landscape of the NIL, the transfer portal, all of those deadlines, I think you got to give them at least their first year of learning, their first year of going through some growing pains, going through the recruiting processes, going through signing days, going through what are the universities now in this landscape of college football, what are they going to do to help them? Because it's all about, you got to pay to play. It's like free agency. What are they going to do in the transfer portal? What are they going to do as far as NIL dollars? And that falls a lot of times on guys like myself, guys like that are involved in the programs, guys that are alumni, individuals that went to the school, feeding back into the universities and donating to those funds. Because I know Delaware State, Norfolk State, they have some great alumni, but until these teams get that consistent NIL dollar, because these players are getting paid now, and they're able to hit that transfer portal as well, maybe even poach some guys from other schools in the MEAC, maybe say, hey, you want to leave Howard? You want to leave Morgan State? You want to leave North Carolina Central? You want to leave South Carolina State? I don't think anybody's leaving Norfolk State. You want to leave one of these schools and come to Delaware State and play for DeSean Jackson, a former Pro Bowl receiver, a guy who's made all-time great plays, one of the best deep threat receivers of all time? As you can see, Delaware State 0-5, 1-11. They were 1-11 in 2023 also. I did play-by-play football for them, and it was the same then. Same then. They had a plethora of coaches from when I was there, before I was there, while I was there, after I left, and now most recently with Lee Hall. And it just hasn't hit anything. They don't have a quarterback. They've had quarterback issues a lot. They really haven't had a good offensive and defensive line. They have had some skilled players, but compared to other teams in the conference, because these are the teams you got to beat to get to a chance at those playoffs or bowl games, they got to get talent. And having a namesake of coach It does something. When DeSean Jackson walks on your high school field or walks into your home to recruit you, hey, I want you to come play for Delaware State, you ain't got to say much more. You want me to come play for you? Let's do it. What do we need from me? Because DeSean Jackson, I know he's about his bread, he's about his paper too. He's going to make sure these guys get their money. He's going to make sure they have their things that they need, the resources that they need. They have fun because he likes to have fun. Hopefully, not too much fun at the issue because it is a party school and we want you to focus on what you're there to do football. Are you going to be committed to this long term? Are you going to move yourself to the Delaware area? Are you going to be in Dover? Are you going to be by the campus? Are you going to be at various areas around the Delaware, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia corridor to recruit talent in the area that may not get the opportunity on these big stages, but can say, hey, let's make Delaware State and even Norfolk State, let's make them relevant, like we've seen with Jackson State, like we've seen down in other schools in the SWAC. They're bringing in former NFL players. They're bringing in the names like they did with Dion. Because what they do is DeSean Jackson has a lot of NFL friends or former NFL friends or guys that want to coach or get an opportunity. So he can bring in other guys that can work with the receivers, receiver coaches that he worked with that help make him who he is, or receiver workout guys that help with regimens to make him who he is, running back coaches, offensive guys, pass game coordinators that he can put on his staff. Hopefully he gets some experienced guys. I don't know who he will get. I don't think his good friend who he does a podcast with, LaShawn McCoy, is going to come with him to help coach. But I can see a situation where Deshaun Jackson, hopefully, they give him the freedom and resources, money, to hire who he needs to be successful. Like I said, first and foremost, they have to be patient. They have to give him time. They can't expect 2 years and they go 2-11. I mean, 1-11 or 2-10, and then they're ready to get rid of him after 2 seasons. This is going to take at least a 3 to 4 year process. Look at it like going to a university, usually a 4 year program. Your first year, you're figuring things out. You have some ups and downs, some growing pains, and then you finally, maybe in the second half of the year, start to adjust to it. Then year two, you're kind of more familiar. You kind of get started off better. Then you can get your feet up under you and really develop that groove going into not only your sophomore year, but your junior and senior year, where you're looking to catapult your next chapter, your career, your life after college. So I think he's going to need at least 3 or 4 years to really, really get things where he needs it to be. First is time. I don't know how long the contract is. I'm guessing a 5 year deal. Secondly, resources, NIL money, going into transfer portal and spending money to get quality players because that's the only way you can be competitive now. You look at a college football level, you go up to the Indianas of the world, you look at SMU. These are teams that work the transfer portal. These are guys that use NIL dollars. They got 15, 20 guys from James Madison. They got guys from other schools to come play for Stignetti. And I think DeSean Jackson, that name alone, guys in the portal now that maybe aren't getting the love that they thought or maybe expected bigger roles at bigger schools, maybe come down to a Delaware State. Come to the HBCU landscape where you're going to have eyes on you. You play at Delaware State with DeSean Jackson. You play against Norfolk State with Michael Vick. You're going to have an opportunity to have more eyes on you, more NFL scouts on you. These guys know NFL agents, NFL scouts, NFL former coaches, NFL and college coaches, or former players that are getting into coaching. Like I said, I don't know what DeSean Jackson's experience is. I don't have high hopes because we know one thing. Look, you can have X's and O's all you want, but you need Jimmy's and Joes to win. If you don't have the players on the field to go out and throw, catch, run, and block and tackle, it doesn't matter who you have as a coach. The coach has to coach, but the players have to play. And I think this entire program needs an overall athletically from the athletic department, from the strength and conditioning to the entire coaching staff, which hopefully DeSean Jackson is the first pillar of that to happen because with him, he brings that name recognition. He brings that excitement, that flair. He's a likable guy. He's an exciting guy. He's an infectious guy with his personality. He's a guy who has a way with words. He can talk. He can recruit. And I think that could work with him to get guys to come in that area. I'm sure he knows guys in Philly and has worked with other guys. And he even is a West Coast guy. So maybe he has some plug to get some guys maybe from the West Coast that want an opportunity. Yeah, maybe cold in Delaware. Yeah, it's nothing in Delaware, but come here for a year or two. See what could happen. See what you maybe can build. Start to build a culture. And it's going to take time because there's been a culture of losing. There's been a culture of below mediocrity. It's been a constant. And this is for a lot of sports ideas on the men's side. But when you look at it, it's a lot of the extra aspects of trying to get these guys to play at a high level. Like I said, you got the Howard, you got the Norfolk States, you got Morgan State, North Carolina Central, South Carolina State. What are you going to do to help stand you apart? Well, outside of Michael Vick, you probably have the most second most recognizable coach in the conference. Boom. That's name recognition right there. You're going to get to play against Michael Vick. You get that exposure right there. So put some experienced guys around him, or allow him to put some experienced guys around him on his staff, guys that may cost a couple of dollars, but can really help overhaul this program from strength and conditioning to the receivers, to the running backs, to the quarterback coach, to the defensive coordinators. Get guys in position that can help you win, help you succeed, and help build that culture. And like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm not judging what they do in 2025. I'm not judging what they do maybe even in 2026. I'll be looking, I'll be judging, I'll be critiquing it, but I think what they do in maybe 2027, 2028, this is a something that's going to be an oven process. We can't put this in a microwave and expect this to be done in 1 year, 2 years. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some seasoning. It's going to take some time to cook and really develop. And it might take 3, 4 years before we really start seeing 4 or 5 wins, 6 or 7 wins. Like I said, South Carolina State went 9-3, 5-0 in the conference. North Carolina Central went 8-3. Can you at least get to a Morgan State 6-6, 3-2 in the conference? Be respectable. You may not be the best team in the conference all the time, but you're respectable. And every time you step on that field for those 60 minutes, whoever you play against, they know that Delaware State University football is going to have an identity. They're going to play hard. They're going to give it everything they got, and they're going to be led by a guy who's hopefully a leader of men. I don't know if he's a leader of men, but I will know that I know he's matured. So maybe he's developing into a leader of men. He's 38 years old. He's young. He can relate to these guys. That is going to be the key to see what happens. And even Michael Vick down in Norfolk State, I think Michael Vick's transition is going to be a little bit more smoother than DeSean Jackson's, because I think DeSean Jackson has such an uphill climb. Norfolk State has been good at football before. They have had a little bit of a downturn the past few years, but they were 2-3 in the conference, 4-8. I can see them at 6-6, 7-5 next year. Don't be surprised, because Vick will give you 2 or 3 more wins, I'm sure. Can DeSean Jackson get 3 wins next year? If he can get anything over 2 wins next year, it's a successful season. If he can go 3-9, 4-8, I'm throwing a parade, because that is progress. That is overachieving, because I don't know who's coming and going now, because now he's going to have to recruit a whole new team. Those guys who were there before, they're not his guys. He's going to have to bring in his own guys. He's going to have to hit the recruiting trail. He's going to have to do the groundwork, hit the ground running, and really put in the work to really see the fruits of his labor. It's not like when he was a receiver, he's going to catch a pass for 80 yards and go to the house on one play. These are going to be the long days, long nights, making those trips, recruiting, getting the right staff around you, and getting the resources from the university. And hell, maybe he's even agreed to help with some of his own resources. He's made some good money in his career. Maybe he's ready to pour into the university also to help the athletic department, to help the football department, to help the football program be better. Like I said, I'll take 6-6, 3-2 in the conference. But 1-11, 2-22 in the last 2 years is simply unacceptable. And it's something we at Delaware State University do not expect. We have a standard of excellence. We don't want HBCUs to be represented like this. We don't want these big name coaches coming to HBCUs and fail. We don't want Dion being the only one to make it out, because that will look bad on the HBCUs as a whole. You know, they look at all these schools the same. So it's going to be very, very important to get it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. It's going to take time. We have to be patient. We cannot rush the process at Delaware State University. We have to understand that this is going to be something that we have to put in the oven. You can't put in the microwave. And it's really going to be a situation of, what does the university do to aid him? They obviously hired him, so they're obviously willing to pay to get someone who wants to coach at this level. Seems like he's committed to it. Maybe it's something he's, like I said, he's been aspiring to do. He seems to be a likable guy. As I mentioned, he can relate to these individuals at the. Oh, there's nothing. I want to hear from you in the comment section. I've been at this for 20 minutes. I've given you my perspective. I did play-by-play for Delaware State. I know how it is. When that team is good, the fans, the university, everyone, the community will support this team. Maybe they could use also some stadium upgrades. They could make the area they play football in more appealing to get some guys. Redo the facilities. Like I said, it's going to take a complete overhaul. This is just the first needed step of multiple. Like I said, coaching staff, strength and conditioning, the backs and receivers and offensive line and quarterback coach, defensive coordinators, linebacker coaches, and so much more. Who does he bring in with him? Can he get players to come play for him in the area that are good? To not go to these other schools, the South Carolina State, North Carolina Central. Can he poach some guys from these other schools? Maybe take some guys from Howard, take some guys from Morgan State. Let's see what he can do. Recruiting is going to be very, very big for him. Having the resources to do so, NIL, transfer portal, are going to determine what he does. Like I said, anything over 2 wins next year, I take, not expecting much next year. I give it about 2 to 3 years minimum before I really start assessing the situation. But you got a big name, Delaware State University. I'm going to try to see if we can get maybe DeSean Jackson to get on the show. I'm going to work out some things. I'm going to reach out to some people, try to see if I can make that happen, and see what I have to do to make that happen. Possibly about getting some information about how we can make this happen on the Flex Zone podcast. Delaware State University alumni, it's only right that we get to talk to Mr. Jackson, because I got some questions for him. Let me know in the comment section you want me to reach out, try to get DeSean Jackson on the show. What do you want to see? Comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new. Let me know your thoughts on DeSean Jackson being the new coach at Delaware State University. We got content on the channel, ending off 2024 and starting 2025 off better than ever. It's the Flex Zone podcast. Stay tuned for more right here on the channel, and let me know your thoughts on DeSean Jackson as the new football coach at Delaware State University.